Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a very long time since my last post, especially one where you guys actually heard my voice. Streams aside, I have not been doing this lately, so it's been a crazy couple months, but I decided I think now was the time to get back to it, and I needed one that was relevant, so I thought Robert Eggers with his last film that he did, Nosferatu, which released last year, but also because, well, he only has 4 films, so it should be short, sweet, and straight to the point if I don't rant like I usually do. But overall, he is one of the more consistently awesome directors I've seen over the last number of years. And because right now, I would say he is my favorite working director in the field of horror. Because he did do The Northman in 2022. So he doesn't do exclusively horror, at least not anymore. But the overwhelming majority of his films are horror, especially with the newest film he is supposed to be doing, Werewolf. Which comes out in to Christmas of next year. So we should be expecting a lot more from him soon, and I am all for it. I love this guy, and he is just one of those directors that he just has this eye for everything. He does these amazing shots, he does these amazing scenes, and he's also one where it's good to see movies that just play in modern day where you see it in our time, but he's one where he's only into period pieces. He's made it very clear he only wants to do period piece movies, and I'm all for that. It's one of the least touched upon genres of all time. So getting to see him do that with horror or action, again, all for it. So for me, I would like to point out, I don't hate any of these films. My least favorite film from him, I would still give a 4.5 or 4.75 out of 5, depending on the day. So every single one of his films, I absolutely love. I would not give any of his films a perfect 5 out of 5 rating. I wouldn't give any of them that. But there's not one miss he has done. There's not even really a weak link. They are all borderline on par with each other. They are awesome. So for me, let's dive in. For me, my last place is going to have to be The Northman. Now, this was actually a very recent change. Actually, this was at my number 3 at one point. I moved it down just a bit because I think for me, the pacing drags it down a little bit. I do think the movie is too long. I think that overall, this is an awesome film. If you guys are like me and hate what Disney did to The Lion King in 2019 with whatever that was, if you want to actually see a good remake of The Lion King, The Northman is the way to go. This awesome, epic Viking tale of vengeance. It's awesome. It's brutal. It is amazing. And this is one of the ones where you can see Robert Eggers' talent on display. Just the way that he can just direct these actors and make them feel certain emotions and how they enact it, or based on how he just meticulously does these awesome shots with the camera. There are so many jaw-droppingly gorgeous shots of just landscapes that at first glance would be just like, okay, that's pretty enough. But when you see Robert Eggers just use his eye for film, they become so much better. And it's amazing what this guy can craft. And again, yeah, like I'm telling you, I do think of his 4, it's the one that I'm probably going to go back to the least because again, it's the longest that he's done, at least to my knowledge it is. It's the most accessible he has done, which I pride him for because his horror films are not always that accessible because horror in and of itself is no longer an accessible genre. It used to be, but now not anymore, especially the ones he does. So an action film is much more up his alley. So this one is the more accessible one. So I think that's why a lot of people usually prefer it to some of his horror films. But I think his horror films have a better mythology. They also have a better set of characters, and I do think that their run times usually go along a lot smoother. So like here, I was never bored. Entire time I was just having a blast just watching these Vikings kill each other, and it's just a great time. Still, I do think for me personally, of them, it's his weakest, but still an awesome film. Number 3, we got The Lighthouse. And like I said previously, The Lighthouse and The Northman are very close with each other. Depending on the day, they could easily switch. But for me, I would say the Lighthouse has a more interesting feel to it because again, the Northman is it's not like it has elements of an adapted story because it is very reminiscent of The Lion King or Hamlet, but just overall, I think the Lighthouse is so unlike anything I've ever seen. Just this movie that's dealing strictly on paranoia, strictly on the fact that you don't know who to trust. It's just dealing with these two characters that are working the lighthouse. And I think it's really well done because I think the best element of the film is it's in black and white, which adds to the tone because it just makes you feel even more icky about it. It is I don't know, especially when it comes to horror, if it's in black and white, it has this more icky feel, and it's really, really good at doing that. It has so many well done scenes, and just overall, the film is just so well crafted. This is probably Eggers' best directorial effort. It would be between this and his newest one, but just the way that he directs Defoe and Pattinson, who are good in just about everything they do, but in this, they are truly awesome. Just the way that they both act like they are just losing their sanity and just are going more antagonistic toward each other, and the way they're starting to butt heads, it's amazing. And again, like I said in The Northman, the shots in here, just like some certain shots, these like wide shots of like a lighthouse or a cabin, just have this unique feel that in any other director could just look bland, but in with Robert Eggers, he just shoots it to make it look so much more beautiful and terrible and fascinating at the same time. So this is debatably his most beloved film, which is why it hurts me that it's at number 3 and not 1 because this was the first one I saw, and I do think it did a really good job of getting me into Eggers because I was like, oh yeah, this guy's mainstay. So it's one of my favorite A24 films. It's a really, really good horror film. So I urge everyone here to check it out because it is intense, but it's well done as heck. My number 2 is The Witch. This was Eggers' directorial debut. For me, this is still one of his best. I know a lot of people look on it for more of a respectful tone of just it's really good, but it has moments where it can be too intense or it's just not for everyone. For me, it's just from a filmmaking standpoint, this film is masterful, like all of his films, but in particular this one, just the way that each of Robert Eggers' films has a different tone or vibe. They have this different aesthetic. In The Northman, it was vengeance. In The Lighthouse, it's paranoia. And for The Witch, it is misery. Just unbelievable amounts of misery. Just the way that everyone is just so miserable with this looming sense of evil throughout the film. And it's probably one of the more interesting time periods he's tackled. This because I just love these types of movies in the settings of pilgrims or I could be getting that wrong, but it's around that time period of sorts. And so it's just one where they use all sorts of these things like they're like as if the devil's possessing these kids. It's really intense. If you guys are squeamish at all, this will get under your skin and stay there. It is very intense, but as someone that is a diehard horror fan, I'm used to that by now. But again, still not something I urge as many people to check out as The Lighthouse or The Northman because I can guarantee you a lot of people will be traumatized by this. But this is just Eggers doing what Eggers does best. He's crafting these characters that are getting really good at mashing with each other. Just they have this really well done ability to have these scenes where they're arguing or getting on each other's nerves and starting to slowly descend into madness. And for me, this is possibly his best story. Just I would not look up anything, just watch the film. This is again another one of my favorite films by A24. They can do really well done stuff when it comes to horror, and this is no different. It's just even from the beginning where you have someone like Christopher Nolan, amazing director out of the gate, but it took him some time to full on get on the reins because following it has some flaws. This Eggers, you would not believe is his first film if you did not know it. Every single one of his films is just so well crafted that you're in awe about how he does this. And for me, The Witch is no different. And while a lot of people aren't as high on it as I would be, for me personally, I just love the fact that this was his directorial debut. I think the story is awesome. Anya Taylor-Joy is good in every single one of these films that Eggers has put her in, and The Northman and The Witch. But for me, this is probably my favorite performance she has ever done. She was great as Furiosa, but just she commits to this, and just wow. And for me, The Witch is easily one of my favorites from him. Number 1 is Nosferatu. This was something else. This was my favorite film of last year. Just this is an experience that you all must have in the field of horror. This is essentially a callback to when horror was actually scary. When horror scared people, intimidated them, made them not want to go to sleep at night. And I miss that era because it was just so awesome. Just these, again, like I said before with Eggers, just these amazing wide shots of this castle of Orlok, or just these cabins, or anything really. He does it so well. And I actually think this movie would benefit from Eggers giving, we already have an extended cut, which I have not seen yet, which I have got to see. But I think it would do a lot of really good if he made a black and white version, or at least made a version where it's just the same film, but he makes it black and white. I think that would be awesome. And I think it adds to the tone because it's just so bleak. It's so intense. Like I said before, with all of his films having a different tone, here it's fear. Like, that is unqualified. That is the tone it is given. Fear. And it is just so good at doing that. Just creating this sense of dread and fear when you just hear all these things about Orlok, the embodiment of evil, who is, by all intents and purposes, he is one of the closest adaptations. This version of Count Orlok, he is one of the closest adaptations we could ever get to what the devil is supposed to be like. Just almost... he is intimidating. He is the embodiment of evil. And something else. It is actually a remake. A lot of people probably don't know this, of a movie from the 1920s called Nosferatu, which I also have seen. I could do a ranking of those three because I've seen all three of them now. But it's also, before that, it was an adaptation of unofficial of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I very much urge all of you to read. It's a really well done book. So it is amazing. I think Bill Skarsgård, he steals the show here. Skarsgård's performance as Orlok is something else. The way that he just commits, the way that you do not know it is Skarsgård. If you look at the Count and then look at what Bill Skarsgård looks like, or even look like what he looked like in It with Pennywise, he looks nothing like him. They are so amazing at these practical effects that they use on him, or little bits of CG, but mostly just makeup, that make him look so much creepier than he ever did as Pennywise. I think Pennywise overall isn't very scary, especially Skarsgård's version because of the CGI, but that is for another day to tackle. But just this version is everything. The filmmaking is unbelievable. This is in competition for his most well-directed film, and it is one where I now have complete confidence in Robert Eggers, and why I am very excited for his most upcoming film, Werewolf. That is easily a top 3 most anticipated film of next year, assuming it doesn't get delayed, which I doubt it will, but who knows? Crazier things have happened. So this is an awesome film. I don't think it's perfect. I think that it runs on a little too long. Well, at least I did when I first watched it. I could easily rewatch it and that could probably go away. And I could end up giving the film a perfect rating. Crazier things have happened. But at the moment, I would still say it's not perfect, but it is a phenomenal film. I urge everyone to check this one out as well as his entire filmography if you want to. It's just, he does so well at this, and he is, for my money, he is the best working director we have right now aside from Nolan. And just, he is so good at what he does. Well, guys, there you have it. There's my ranking of all 4 of Robert Eggers' films. Please do let me know what your ranking is in the comments. I am always happy to hear what you guys think. It's one where he is one of the few directors where each movie you could make an argument for why that is the best one he has done, and it's because for me they're all so close in rating. It doesn't really matter for me. Just each one of his films is so meticulously crafted, where he is just so concerned with the filmmaking that it just absolutely makes your experience. This is what you want from new modern horror directors, and what I've been itching for them to keep doing. It is it is awesome. It is just something else entirely. I am very excited for his new upcoming film. Which I hope it doesn't go like the Frankenstein one. He was originally going to be making a Frankenstein movie he did not like his script, so that one got pinned. So I do not think it would happen with Werewolf, but who knows? But anyway, please do share this video, like and subscribe, because I'm going to be trying to do a series like this. I'm going to be doing all these director rankings. I can do Matthew Vaughn soon because I just finished watching The Kingsman, so I've seen every single one of his films. Tarantino would be down the line as well as Denis Villeneuve and Nolan. But please do share this so that I can make that happen. I do need y'all's support. Thank you all so much for watching. Always happy to talk to you guys. Stay cool.